Hi, everybody. Continuing on with the book, The One and Only Bob. This chapter is called Drulius. I knew this guy back when I hung out at the mall with Ivan and Ruby. Nice dog named Drulius. Basic mutt, maybe some lab and golden in there somewhere. He'd done some hard time at a couple of shelters. One of those dogs you knew had seen more than his share of the bad stuff the world can throw your way. One ear bitten off, scars, a limp. Julius lived in his backyard, winter, spring, summer, fall, chained up mostly, flies on his food, empty water bowl way too often. Still, he had a nice word to say when I'd pass him on my daily rounds, checking out the neighborhood trash cans. Once I saw his owner, again that word, step onto the back porch. Julius was barking hard, but he had a good reason. A stranger had been passing by. Barking is what we're supposed to do in those circumstances, right? So anyway, the owner comes out, big guy, mean looking, and yelled at Julius, "Be quiet, you fool," and disappeared. Julius looked at me, kind of embarrassed. We kept talking. A few minutes later, the owner came out again and put some towels on the line to dry. Julius headed over, tail between his legs, saying, "I'm sorry, I love you, I'm yours, yours, yours," with his whole dog being. But the guy completely ignored him and headed back inside. "He's having a tough time," said Julius when the guy was gone. "He's not a nice guy," I said, because subtlety is not my strong point. "No, he loves me, he does. He has a funny way of showing it." "Humans," said Julius, licking a sore on his leg. "You know how they can be." Do I ever. But we gotta stay true. Love 'em, forgive 'em. I thought about it a lot. Why, though, I finally asked, why do we have to forgive them when they're mean to us? Julius looked shocked, then confused, as if I'd just said why cheese tastes good. It just does. "That's the way it is," he said. "That's what we do, Bob." I started to reply, but I held my tongue, which is not easy for me. It's a very long tongue with a mind of its own. There was no point in making Julius feel worse than he already did. Later that morning, I found half a turkey sandwich, gave the whole thing to him. Well, okay, I took a bite first, but still. Seems like forgiving humans is one of those doggy things we're all supposed to do, like having zombies or having zoomies or doing bed boogies. It's written into our canine souls. Well, somehow I didn't get the memo, the one that apparently went out to every other dog on the planet about forgiveness. Why should I forgive humans who tossed me and my siblings out into the night? When you forgive, you lose your anger, and when you lose your anger, you get weak. And when you're weak, you can get hurt all over again. By the time we reach the park, the sky is definitely in a bad mood. Gray clouds galloping like panicked horses. The nervous scent of rain on the way, the kind that makes you antsy in your own skin. Do you remember where they're going on the walk? Who are they going to see? Ivan and Ruby at the zoo. When we get near the employees' entrance, I hop into Julia's backpack like always. We enter through the special gate where George shows his ID, checks in, and says hi to the staff. Pet dogs aren't allowed in the park, of course. Foxes, wolves, jackals, my dog cousins, they are. But in my opinion, even though they're technically part of my extended family, they're nothing like dogs. Only dogs have perfected the art of human watching. The smartest thing we ever did was to figure out how important the human gaze is. A gaze is when you're looking at somebody. So often, when we follow our owner's eyes, we're rewarded with something amazing. A smelly sock, a glazed donut that's fallen on a smelly sock. We follow every blink, every sidelong glance. We see it, whatever it is, before humans do. We understand before they do. And if it's a glazed donut involved, we even eat it before they do. It's mid-morning, still pretty early. There aren't many visitors around. "We've got a meeting in 20, George tells a couple workers, Hank and Sonia, who groan. "Just a quick one, going over contingency plans one last time in case there's any flooding." During the last hurricane, a small part of the park flooded, mostly Reptileville. George helped remove some cages. He came home smelling like cottonmouth snakes and copperheads. It was all I could do to not throw up. "Weather Service just issued a tornado watch," Hank says. "I thought we were having a hurricane," Julia asked. "We are, but sometimes tornadoes are spawned during hurricanes," George explains. Julia frowns. But a watch means maybe, not for sure, right? Yeah, but I want you to head home, says George, just in case. Please, Dad, just 10 minutes, says Julia. She's using that special voice she reserves for moments when she really, really wants something from her parents. I guess kids manipulate their moms and dads the same way dogs manipulate humans. I don't know, George begins. I promised Bob. I figure that's my cue to pop my head out and look adorable, so I do. Hey, Bob, says Hank. Sonia reaches over and scratches my ears. I'm pretty popular around the park. I give George my best puppy eyes, and he caves. 10 minutes tops, he says. Meet me back here. Puppy eyes, they work every time. Here's how I figure puppy eyes got their start. Cave humans were sitting around a fire, wearing mammoth fur and grunting about how there was nothing on TV because TV wasn't invented yet. And some wily wolf thought, whoa, they've got leftover mammoth meat. And he probably whimpered and cowered and did a tummy display and looked pathetic enough that Mr. Oog finally tossed him a bone. And soon enough, a zillion years later, voila, man's best friend. After all that time, there's a thing like a magnetic attraction between dogs and humans. We've studied them for so long, we can read every twitch and sigh. Suppose it was easier than chasing down mammoths. And I get it, I do. The behind-the-ear scratch, the food in a fancy bowl, the bed by the fireplace. Gotta admit that Julia's pretty fun to hang out with, and I'm grateful, I really am, that her family took me in. Still, I don't need them. You need somebody. Eventually they let you down, and you would end up feeling like a real doofus. I'm going to stop there, boys and girls, so I want you to think about what might happen. They have 10 minutes until they meet back up with George and go home, but a tornado hurricane is kind of threatened in the weather report. What might happen? See you next time.